Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clark on YouTube. Oh no! Hi YouTube, may the force be with you. I've been waiting a lifetime to say that. Really, I've been waiting a lifetime to say that because never in my lifetime have I ever said that to anyone who was ever a fan of my YouTube creations. Thank you so much for being here on May 4th, 2025. It is Star Wars Day 2025, and because it is Star Wars Day 2025 and it is Sunday evening, I am here to celebrate Star Wars Day 2025 with you, the subscriber, who I wish that the Force is with because I need all the subscribers and all the support that I can get. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, if you haven't rang the bell to stay up to date with notifications, you're kind of maybe sort of want to gonna do that, because if you do that, you're going to stay up to date on everything happening on this YouTube channel. For me, to be honest with all of you, I've never been a fan of Star Wars. I followed Star Wars because it's had something to do significantly with pop culture, and there are hundreds, if not millions of fans of Star Wars across social media. Everybody has said they were a Star Wars fan at some point in their lifetime. I don't care who you are. Even I have said I've been a Star Wars fan, even though I've never really been a die-hard Star Wars fan. I remember the popularity of the movies back in the 1980s, 1990s, especially the early 1990s. I had a lot of friends who were crazy about Star Wars, and I'm going to fill you guys in a little something. Every member of my family was crazy about Star Wars. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins were crazy about either Star Wars or Harry Potter. I was never a fan of either one of them, but I was pretty into that kind of stuff because of how supportive my family was of Star Wars. I remember all my family members just being so crazy about the movies. Every time there was a new movie in the box office, they would drag me to it. I would sit through 2 hours of Star Wars and I would fall asleep halfway through it, but I would sit through it and I would come away with a greater appreciation than what I probably ever did going into it. I never was the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, like probably many of you are who found this video and clicked on my thumbnail, but here's the thing. I appreciate how it's touched the lives and the hearts of so many people, and that's why I'm here today. I promised all of you I would put together some kind of compilation on my thoughts about Star Wars, and I go all the way back to Lego Star Wars, the Lego Star Wars video games, the Star Wars video game franchise, apart from the Lego Star Wars video game franchise. The Lego Star Wars video game franchise had 6 video games, and I remember playing video games back as far as Star Wars Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Star Wars Outlaws, which recently just came out on the PlayStation 5. I loved all those games. I don't think there was ever a night in my life that I wasn't seen playing a Star Wars video game, whether it be a Lego Star Wars video game adaptation or a Star Wars video game franchise on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. And how about those action figures? I think there were like 96 Star Wars action figures produced ever since 1977. The first Star Wars action figures that hit the shelves in toy stores were in 1978. And they were action figures of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Chewbacca, the basic Star Wars characters. And over the years, we have seen 2,100 Star Wars characters produced in the comics, in the movies. It's amazing just the expansion we have seen for Star Wars. Over, I think, 96 action figures and over 100 video games have been produced for Star Wars. That is absolutely crazy. I have never been seen swinging a lightsaber. Don't ever ask me to swing a lightsaber for you on a video on this channel, because you will never ever see it. I always thought the lightsabers were probably the coolest thing about Star Wars. The lightsabers and the ships that these characters were seen on. They were really cool. I found that very, very awesome and very authentic, how Star Wars had different ships and different aircrafts from Star Trek fans who were named Trekkies. And the really weird thing about the Star Wars fan base was that they never did have a name put on them. You know, you called yourself what you wanted when it came to Star Wars. There was never a specific name put on the Star Wars fan base. I think it would be more iconic if Star Wars fans had a name put on them than the Star Trek fans having a name put on them solely, because then the Star Wars fans could compete with Star Trek. Now, I know there's been the debate what has been the greatest franchise of all time, Star Wars or Star Trek, but in my opinion, by far, a franchise worth over $4.5 billion solely, Star Wars is definitely light years ahead of anything that Star Trek has ever put out. Star Trek was a series that they have rebooted time and time again. Now, I know they have rebooted Star Wars over and over and over again with the same kind of inadequate concept. all the time. I mean, we've seen so many Star Wars movies over the years, and this new trilogy that Disney came out with from 2015 up until 2019. They released a part of the trilogy every 2 years apart when Disney acquired it from Lucasfilms. But 4.5 billion, they are light years ahead. And Star Wars is always in the conversation of friends every single day of our lives. There's never a day that goes by where someone doesn't have a conversation about Star Wars. On Discord, there are all kinds of conversations about Star Wars on social media platforms. No matter if you're talking about Facebook, no matter if you're talking about X, no matter if you're talking about TikTok, there is always a conversation. There's always a conversation going on discussion forums, on the Star Wars websites, all over the Star Wars official social media accounts. There's always something up there about it. And every year on May the 4th, it is always celebrated in the news. Every time I turn on the 6 o'clock evening news, I see Star Wars being talked about on May the 4th. Every single year, I kid you not. And Star Wars has been on my mind all day today because I know there are hundreds and hundreds and millions of fans of Star Wars out there who are celebrating May the 4th today, probably more hardcore than I ever have. I actually have a Yoda t-shirt that says "This is my good side" on it somewhere in my cartoon animated t-shirt collection. And I probably should be wearing it. I do have my reciprocal lights turned the color of Star Wars, either red or white is what I had to choose from when it came to Star Wars colors. So I decided to go with the red lights because I was always a huge fan of Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Chewbacca. I was always a fan of the original Star Wars characters. I was also a fan of the expansion when it came to characters of Star Wars, because I don't think we have ever seen so many expansions for characters like we have seen for the Star Wars franchise. Over 2,100 plus characters for Star Wars is absolutely incredible. Over 100 video games and over 96 action figures. The comic books, the movie franchise, I think, had 12 installments. 12 different installments in this movie franchise, and I think it would take you somewhere between 14 to 15 and a half hours if you were to watch them back to back to back to back to back, kind of like how long it would take you to watch every single episode of The Simpsons. I think it would take you a little bit longer to watch every single episode of The Simpsons, but the Star Wars franchise is always coming up in every kind of conversation that you talk about. In animated TV series such as The Simpsons, on daytime talk shows, on evening news hours, they are always talking about Star Wars because it has really just become a part of our lives, and we are going to live, breathe, and die by the Star Wars legacy. It is truly unbelievable, and I think George Lucas has a lot to be, proud of because of just everything Star Wars has accomplished up till 2025. I really appreciate what Disney has done with it, though. Disney first purchased Star Wars, I believe it was back in 2012, and they made the announcement on October 30th, 2012, and ever since then, with the acquisition of Star Wars, we have seen so much attempted to be done, if not accomplished, by Disney. The new trilogy they introduced from 2015 to 2019, releasing a new installment every 2 years, and they've got a new one coming out in theaters, I think in 2027, that's when that one's going to be released. It's between 2026 and 2027. I think it's going to be called Star Wars Starfighters. I could be wrong on that. The internet will shoot me if I've said anything wrong about this new franchise that's coming at this new spin-off. But I'm really excited to see where we go from here with the Star Wars franchise because of how many fans we have out there that are just diehard of it. I actually had a friend that literally lived 5 minutes away from me, and his whole house was dedicated to Star Wars. Everything he collected had something to do with Star Wars, no matter if it was wall posters, wall decorations, stuffies, action figures, video games. His whole house was devoted to Star Wars, and it blew my mind every single time I stepped into his living room because I couldn't believe it. And I had a friend also who used to love to draw Marvel characters, so I was either going to his house to see his Star Wars collection or to see my friend putting together these pictures of Marvel characters like Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, a member of the Avengers. It's just amazing the passion that people have for Star Wars that they will take with them to their graves, because there are people who would choose Star Wars over their own families. Literally, that's how much of an impact Star Wars has had on all of our lives. But like I said, for me it was always the aircrafts, the spaceships, the lightsabers, the action scenes. There were a lot of action in those Star Wars movies ever since 1977. I used to do a lot of work with computers when I was a teenager in high school. And one of the engineers that we had at my high school at the time was obsessed with the Star Wars franchise. So every time there was a Star Wars movie in the 90s, episode 3, 4, 5, what had you, he would find himself in the movie theater on the weekend from a Friday to a Sunday watching the Star Wars movies over and over again. And then he would come back out of school the following Monday, and he would be telling everybody in the school that he was a part of and educating about the Star Wars movies. And he would always find a way to tie Star Wars into his teachings to the people that he was teaching. And we all took something away from Star Wars with us. The Force was going to be with us undeniably. It was truly unbelievable. Now, with Lego Star Wars coming in, we had Dove Cameron lend her voice as Becky Smoochenbacher in the Lego Star Wars franchise, which only had about 26 episodes before Disney canceled that. Both Dove Cameron and Meg Donnelly have been seen on the set of Star Wars The Last Jedi. That was back in, I think, 2017 that movie was released. But I remember seeing them on the red carpet premiere, and because I was such a huge fan of Meg Donnelly because of the Zombies franchise, I was such a huge fan of Dove Cameron because of other things she did with Descendants and Liv and Maddie. I watched that. The gowns they had on the red carpet for the premiere of The Last Jedi were absolutely unbelievable. They were mind-blowing. And I think I can get away with saying that because they were really mind-blowing. Dove Cameron and Meg Donnelly are just beautiful, beautiful souls. And I wish that Meg Donnelly would have had more to do with the Star Wars franchise, because she has been seen and heard in a lot of interviews saying that she is the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. Now, mind you, you won't see me jumping off my bed with a lightsaber anytime soon, or decorating my room with Star Wars characters. You'll see me decorate it with Disney characters and Marvel characters and probably Sonic the Hedgehog ever before. You will see me become that devoted to Star Wars because I was never the biggest fan of it. Now, my family, like I mentioned, were either diehard fans of Star Wars or Harry Potter, and I have to give them credit for that because they were really diehard fans of it. And the only reason I know anything about Star Wars is because I was literally dragged to everything having to do with Star Wars. Now, I've never had the opportunity to go to one of these conventions for Star Wars, but I would absolutely love the opportunity to do it because of just how devoted these people are to Star Wars. It's amazing, the costumes. It's just incredible, the passion that you guys have for Star Wars, and I'm sure you're celebrating Star Wars Day 2025 in some way or some emphatic way that separates you from everybody else. It's just amazing. I believe a few years ago I actually saw somebody who had his whole basement devoted to Star Wars collectibles. It was amazing. I saw it on the 6 o'clock evening news a few years ago, and the news actually wanted to do a piece on it every single year for May the 4th. They actually wanted to host the newscast from his basement because he was just so devoted to Star Wars collectibles. It was really amazing. One of my all-time favorite Star Wars video games, by the way, has to be Star Wars Outlaws. I know it's relatively new and it was only released last summer, but it was an amazing video game. It was the first time that we saw a girl actually be playable in one of the games, and it was amazing for the full story. And I know that Star Wars Fallen Order and Star Wars Jedi Survivor, because of Cal Ripken's involvement in the game, were some of the most revered from EA games. But when you talk about great video games, Star Wars Outlaws really had it for me. It really stole the show from me every single time. And I think that Disney's really put its own unique spin on the Star Wars franchises, because not only are they putting their own unique spin on the Star Wars franchises and desperately trying to keep it alive, but they are also trying to throw everyday Disney stars into the mix too, like Dove Cameron and Meg Donnelly, who I really appreciated seeing on the red carpets every time something for Star Wars would show up, because they really wanted to, tie in the Disney kind of feel to it and bring it to life in their own unique way. And I think they did an incredible job doing it. Now, the piece of footage that I have to show you is from Disney's magical holiday special from, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago, when Zombies was at the heights of its popularity, and the Zombies cast, including Meg Donnelly, had to do a Star Wars challenge. And I will show you about 5 minutes of this holiday special as part of this upload on my YouTube channel to commemorate Star Wars Day 2025. Meg Donnelly is involved in the opening sequence of the holiday special that's themed around Star Wars, and her fantism of being a Star Wars fan is really put on display here in such an unbelievable way. Have you guys ever had chicken tacos? That's when my throat is so congested. I had chicken tacos earlier, and they were Dorito flavored, and the taste of them are absolutely amazing. and I have real bad throat congestion because of it, just to let you guys know. But yeah, seeing Meg Donnelly on the holiday special, themed around Star Wars, and putting her, her history of Star Wars on display in a way that nobody else could ever have done it was absolutely unbelievable. I remember actually seeing this holiday special when it happened on the Disney Channel. It was only about a half an hour, but it was an amazing, amazing special, and it just goes to show how dedicated people like Meg Donnelly would eventually become as Disney stars themselves. I really believe that Star Wars has always held a special place in all of our hearts, and is the reason why we're such big fans of things that would follow in the footsteps of Star Wars, like Pokemon, Super Mario. I mean, Star Wars, as I mentioned, goes all the way back to 1978. That was ever before a lot of us were born. Probably before many of you were ever born, Star Wars was one of the biggest of all time. It's considered to be the greatest franchise of all time. So as I wish the Force to be with you, what do you say we watch this footage together featuring zombie star Meg Donnelly, who I'm a huge fan of and absolutely in love with, and we'll experience this together. Hey guys, check it out! Disney Holiday Magic Quest is a unique event displaying actions and activities that are not approved for guests during normal park operations. All guests are required to adhere to park rules and CDC guidelines. What? Since when did this come into effect? My biggest dream in life and aspiration was to be a part of a Star Wars galaxy invasion, and I thought that when I booked my vacation at Disney World I was going to have the opportunity to do that. Oh, woe is me. I believe everything I see on TV. Oh, I just got this new microphone and I wanted to read the disclaimer at the beginning. You're going to have to forgive me. But I honestly thought that stuff like pro wrestling and Star Wars was real. Oh, way to bring us all down. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, you're going to want to do that to stay up to date with notifications, so make sure you ring the bell. I'm honestly really excited to watch this for what I believe is the first time with all of you. I've never actually showed this footage on my YouTube channel, so I'm really excited to watch this footage with you, so you can leave me your opinions in the comments. I remember seeing Meg Donnelly's reaction, being a part of Star Wars and Toy Story challenges for this holiday special, and I thought this was the perfect piece of footage. If I was going to show you anything, it came down to Meg Donnelly and Dove Cameron on the red carpet for The Last Jedi back in 2017, I believe. And this, and I went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, threw a coin up in the air like Two-Face from Batman, went like this, and I said, yes! Holiday Magic Quest Special! Let's watch it together. Don't forget to ring the bell. Oh my god.
Here we go.
Wow! So cool.
And look at this. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge alone, the only 2 guests, is incredible.
I've been a huge fan of Star Wars since I was a kid. This is unreal.
Get a ring.
Okay, team. Welcome to Batu.
Let's go.
Where you can live your Star Wars adventure. You are now part of the Resistance, and your mission is to find the missing piece of the holiday star hidden somewhere on the planet. To start your quest, you must find this symbol somewhere in Batu. But watch out. Kylo Ren and the First Order will be searching for you everywhere. And if they capture you, your quest is over.
What? Over?
Supreme Leader.
Double the patrols. I want information. Do not fail, Lieutenant. Are we clear?
Yes, Supreme Leader.
The Resistance must not be allowed to regroup. If someone in this outpost knows something, we need to find them.
We will find the spies, Supreme
We
Leader.
need to find them! Oh, this is so unbelievable! I get so emotional during these kind of things.
Search every sector and
Look at
find
these
those
guys. What are these
resistance
guys
spies.
called? There's Ewoks and...
Yo, we gotta find that symbol.
We do.
There they are. Get them.
I would just immediately jump out and start kicking butt. Oh, running away. That's the obvious choice. much these guys get paid.
Go, 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 go. There it is! Yes, it's the droid depot.
Yay!
Let's go.
It's over there.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Open. All right, let's go. Woo! Wow, look at this. This is crazy. This is sick.
Crazy.
Wow. Yo, get a call.
Good job! You've made it to Black Spire Outpost Droid Depot.
All right, what do we do? What do we do?
You will have to find the pieces and build this droid who will lead you on your quest. But hurry up before you're discovered by the First Order.
Okay, let's go.
Run away while you still can. Isn't that Obi-Wan they were trying to build? That is so cool. I wonder how much those droids get paid to march around and find intruders like Meg Donnelly was trying to intrude on the Star Wars Holiday Special. It also featured Toy Story, which I was also a huge fan of ever since 1995. Unbelievable. Happy May 4th, 2025 to each and every one of you who may have found this thumbnail and clicked on it, because you could be anywhere else on YouTube. And I guess I'm going to have to cancel my vacation to Disney World now because I can't engage in those kinds of activities because it's not reserved for park guests. Oh, way to bring us all down. Give me a second to switch back over and cancel my Disney reservations and vacation, and we will close this thing out. No, I can't lie to you guys. Meg Donnelly is so pretty. I wish I could ask her out on a date. Google usually knows everything. Hey Google, is Meg Donnelly in a relationship? See what she says.
I don't know, but I found these results on...
Oh, Google doesn't even know. No, way to bring us all down. But guys, ever since I saw B-11 in all seriousness, that toy, I always wanted one. If there was one Star Wars toy I always wanted, it was that. And my friend had one, and I had the opportunity to check it out a few years ago, and it was so cool. It talked. It had over 150 phrases, kind of like the new Stitch 150 phrase toy they got. Toys are so, updated now. It had 150 phrases. It had all these action moves. I never did get my hands on a B-11 though. I remember when they came out during the holidays, because Star Wars always had this habit of putting stuff out around the holiday season, and everybody wanted it, kind of like how everybody wanted a Furby. They were so hard to get your hands on back in the 90s. I think Star Wars was trying to one-up the Furbies and one-up the Pokemon, and they may have done it with B-11, but I never did have the opportunity to actually get one of those. A lot of my friends had them. A lot of my friends had a lot of Star Wars collectibles, but I was never one to actually collect Star Wars stuff. But I find it really cool how people like Dove Cameron and Meg Donnelly now are lending their voices for voiceovers to the Star Wars franchise. Check it out. I could be the next Darth Vader. The Force be with you. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. If you haven't rang the bell to stay up to date with notifications on this YouTube channel, you're kind of maybe going to want to do that. Because there's a lot of cool stuff on this YouTube channel. In the next video, I will have something to talk about. I know SpongeBob SquarePants was celebrating his 26th anniversary since the premiere of the series back on May 1st, 1999, a couple of days ago. A long time ago, and I never got around to talking about it, so there's a lot to talk about. Marvel's Thunderbolts is out now. Star Wars has a lot coming out in the next 2 to 3 years, which is a long way away from now. Lilo and Stitch on May 23rd. Oh, there's so much. We'll get to it all. But I want to wish everybody who is a huge Star Wars fans out there, even though you don't admit to being a huge Star Wars fan, I know that you are a huge Star Wars fan, and an even bigger Star Wars fan now since George Lucas sold the right to Disney to over $4.5 billion. That's crazy. That's unbelievable. I may have never been the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, but I know all of you were, so I put it into my schedule to make sure I was available for May the 4th, 2025. Come to think of it, I'm available every day of the week. Every day of the week, every night of the week. I haven't got nowhere to be. So the only thing I can do is either make YouTube videos or play video games. Guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If I haven't said it before, I'll say it again. It won't hurt me to say it once more. Happy May the 4th to every Star Wars fan out there. I love each and every one of you because I can't do it without each and every one of you hitting the subscribe button. What this YouTube channel comes down to and revolves around and survives and exists because of, against things like the Force, which are undefeatable, is all of you hitting the subscribe button. Bye, YouTube. Happy May the 4th, 2025, and we will do it again really soon.